Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far. Today I'm bringing you my top 10 cards of the Unearthed Prophecy expansion. Now these cards aren't really in any specific kind of order. I mean, they're my top 10, but you could place them anywhere on the list just due to the fact that any card, like, you know, since there's different factions, you can't run every card in every faction, so each card is good within a certain faction. And I don't think not one card is a card that's completely broken right now. Like, the only card in my eyes that needs to get nerfed in the game period is Lava Slasher, and that's not even from this expansion. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this list. It took me a while to make, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So nonetheless, let's hop into our first card. First card in this top 10 is going to be Sunrise Cleric, which is a pretty interesting card to add into a top 10. I was debating or not if I wanted to add this card, but I decided to add it just because this card itself allows Healnar to be so good now. And it's not really the card itself, it's really the hallowed ground that it gives you. But it's really important because out of all the hallowed ground generators, this one allows you to play the hallowed ground on top of you, which is super important. So you can trigger things at the end of your turn, like your Sunrisers and your Gold Vitriols and things like that, which makes Sunrise Cleric extremely good. Early game for Healnar, this is what Healnar needed instead of running the generic, you know, 2 drops in Linar, which is like the Windblade add-ups and things like that. So now they actually have a pretty good 1-drop. It pairs very well with Holy Immolation as well, because you can play it on 5 mana and Holy Immolate the board since we don't have Soul anymore. So I really like the card. I think it takes Healnar to another level, and I'm really happy to have this card in the game. So yeah, let's move on to our next card. Alrighty guys, our next card is Scroll Bandit. Now I like this card a lot. This card has been a staple so far in every Songhai backstab deck. You know, being able to just backstab and then steal an opponent's spell out of their deck is very strong. Sometimes you can steal their win condition, like in this case we stole a Obliterate. So it's pretty cool, and then stealing basically means that your opponent doesn't have it in their deck anymore. It's not like you get a copy, you get the card itself, which is awesome. So I really like Scroll Bandit. Allows you to keep your hand refilled as Songhai, which is really good. And you know what, it's just an overall strong 2-drop, you know, paired with Killing Edge, it gets very buffed as well. So I think this card will continue seeing play. I think it will see play for quite a while, man. It's a good card. Okay guys, so our next card we're going to talk about is Moonlight Basilisk. Now I only have one clip of this just because I don't play Vaynar a lot. But this card I've seen played in every Vaynar deck ever since it's been out. It's just a super good card. It allows you to get this super buffed minion while your opponent can't play spells. And if they do play spells, they're just allowing you to have this super big minion that just gets big super quick. And if your opponent does not have enough damage to take care of it, like if they have removal like Phoenix Fires where you know, Basilisk just eats that up because when they play that spell, it flips over and then damage applies. So it just makes it a super good card. Being able to Hearth Sister it in and potentially get lethal just makes Moonlight Basilisk just a huge threat that your opponent's going to have to deal with. And I think this card's going to see play in all Vaynar decks to come. Definitely aggro, even expansions after the one we're on now, I think it's going to see play. So yeah, that's Moonlight Basilisk. Alrighty boys, we are going to stay on the Sentinel train. We're going to move over to Songhai and talk about a new Sentinel they just got, which is Mindcage Oni. Now I put this card in my top 10 because this card is seen play in all types of Songhai decks. Riva, Kalios, it's seen play in everything. And the reason this thing is seen play is not only because it's a very strong Sentinel. When it transforms, it turns into a 4/3, which is actually pretty rare. The Sentinel is stronger than the Sentinel version itself, which is awesome, but more people are playing this card because of its ability. The fact that this card transforms and steals your opponent's spells that transformed it is awesome. And then the most important thing is that this thing continues to steal your opponent's spell until they get rid of it on the board. So you can put this thing in the back of the map. You know, your opponent can keep playing these spells and you're just going to keep stealing them all and keeping your hand refilled. And as Songhai, that is such an advantage for you, being able to have all these spells that you can replace, maybe combo with, maybe even, you know, make your stuff even stronger. Like you're going to see in front of you, I'm going to second wish onto my Mind Cage, which is pretty awesome, and then do damage with it. So this card is just super powerful, you know, and even if you wanted to put in that damage like I'm doing right now, face, you can, because Mind Cage is already a really strong card. Oh man, this card's going to see play in probably all mid-range decks. Every kind of Songhai deck you can think of is going to be played in, at least until a new expansion comes out. But for now, this card's not going to go anywhere. And that's really all I have for you about Mindcage Oni, man. Okay guys, the next card we're going to be talking about is Cataclysmic Fault. Now this card is a vet spell, and it's, you know what, it's been seeing a ton of play, man. I've been seeing a lot of cat decks all over the place. And this deck is so good because you're able to just, you know, just be able to establish this huge board threat in the middle of the board. Either way your opponent goes, you just now have waves of minions that's just going to keep pushing them and pushing them and pushing them every turn. And even if they do dispel, you know, your tiles, you're more or less going to play another Cataclysmic Fault and get those tiles right back anyway. So, I mean, I really like this card. It allows you to push your opponent for that damage. It allows you to play these kind of nice mid-range vet decks that aren't so aggressive and aren't, you know, totally dependable on you know, decks like Obelisk decks and stuff like that. I like playing a more mid-range, you know, Xerox deck like this. And like I said, look at the board stake that this card just gave you. It just gave you 5 2/2s. That's insane. Anytime you summon a minion after the turn you play Cataclysmic Fault, you get 5 2/2s. And if you played with Ray as the combo, it's just sometimes it's just hard to come back as an opponent trying to face this. So yeah, man, Cataclysmic Fault is definitely a card that's going to be amazing till the end. Alrighty guys, man, we're just going through all these factions right now. The next faction we're going to be talking about is Abyss. Now, Abyss got this super strong card that's seen play in every type of aggro deck ever. You guys probably know what it is by now. This is Phantasm. Phantasm is amazing, man. Allowing you to get these super buff spec revs in hand is absolutely amazing. If your opponent does not kill this thing, they're going to be dealing with these super big minions later on in game, either tigers or, you know, just spec revs or even desolators. The 5/1 desolator, which you guys see I have in my hand right now, is just still a super big card for your opponent to deal with. I really like Phantasm, and it's definitely going to stay around in any type of aggro aggressive Abyss list that you know you're ever going to see, because it's just that damn good. And you know what, if your opponent has to waste removal on this thing, if this thing baits removal, that's even better for you. Now I threw in the clip behind you. Now this was a super buffed minion Everhard got out of Phantasm, and as you see, if left unchecked, it's big. Alrighty guys, moving on to our next card. We're going to be talking about Sandswirl Reader. Now, I knew this card was going to be powerful the minute I saw it. Any type of card that sets your opponent back a turn is amazing. This card allowing you to, you know, send back your opponent's minion back into their hand is fantastic. Sometimes you're able to even mill that minion, which is even better. Now, this allows you to establish a board threat as a 3/4. You know, it's not very strong, but it still survives a general hit, so it allows you to have that board presence. And you know what, if your opponent decides to play that minion back out next turn and then you have removal for it, that's 2 turns of your opponent doing nothing, which is awesome. So Sandswirl Reader, really good card. Any card that sets your opponent back a complete turn is amazing. So Sandswirl Reader is probably going to be around for quite some time. Keep your eye on this one, boys. I'm telling you, it's going to be very strong. Alrighty boys, next on our list is Wild Tar. Now this is my new favorite card, or one of my new favorite cards. This card surprised me so much. I was not expecting this card to be so good. This is an absolute needed card in any type of aggro deck that you are running. The fact that it has Frenzy, your opponent's going to be taking so much damage if they hit it. If they hit it first, they're going to be taking 5. If they hit it second, you know, they'll be taking more depending on how big it is or how many minions hit it. It's such a nasty card. And then if you buff it on your turn, it's just a big minion with Frenzy, which is awesome. Absolute powerhouse, needed in any kind of aggro deck that you play, in my opinion. I think this card will see play in any type of aggro deck until the end of the game itself. It's just that good. Alrighty guys, we are on to Abyssinian as our number 2 card, and our number 2 card is actually Desolator. Now I know you guys were going to see this card coming in this top 10 somewhere. So this card has seen play since the beginning of the expansion. I've seen it played in every Abyss deck I probably played against in the past month, and I'm sure you have too. Now, people are probably wondering, why is this card that good? Now, it's good for a few reasons. It's good because it allows you to sustain yourself on board until you draw into, you know, your late game threats like Grandmasters or Obliterates or Spec Revs, things like that. And it allows you to drain your opponent's health, so when you do draw into those Spec Revs, you're getting them closer and closer and closer to dying. which is awesome. And it allows you to gain that life, so if you're playing against these aggro decks, you can eat that damage as well. Now, I think Desolator is a fantastic card. You can even, you know, chain summon it twice in one turn. You can play it, ping it, and then play it again, or you can play it, Darkfire Sacrifice it, and play it again. The fact that it returns to your hand is just so good. Desolator is a fantastic card, probably one of the best in the expansion. And that, boys, brings us to my #1 card of the expansion. I'm sure you guys were expecting no less than Thunderhorn. This card is a powerhouse. I know I said that about a lot of cards, but this card really is the best card in the expansion. This card, since it's neutral, is seen play in every deck on the game. Or not every deck, but every faction on the game has a deck with this in it. It's so good. It's paired very well with any type of buff in the game, because you can use any faction with it. This thing is going to see play until the end of the game unless they nerf it. Hands down, that damn good. Well, that's it, boys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you guys leave it a thumbs up, comment down below, let me know if I missed any of your top 10 cards, and make sure you sub if you're new. Other than that, I'm your boy Clazo. Hope you guys keep on dueling, and I will see you guys next time.